Alright, hello everybody, I'm the Spectre. Joining me is the Porcelain Lily, and we are here for the Australian Esports League quarterfinal games. We do have Hans Reborn, first rest tonight. How are you going, Lily?
I'm alright. Just blasting some Christina Aguilera. How are you doing?
Pretty good, just playing a super creepy version of Wrecking Ball on stream.
Oh, is that the one that's like in G minor
Yeah.
or something? Yeah, that's so good.
Oh man, it was just mind tripping me. Now the chat's like going off because it's on 2-minute delay. And of course, before I forget, thank you very much to our stats man, Captain Kirk, who will be flying all of those stats in from the right hand side for you tonight. Hans and Rest already getting into the thick of it. ET and Clockwork getting banned out by Rest. The Lich and the Weaver banned out by Hans, and Rest picking up that Timbersaw as first pick, who we saw absolutely wreck in the last game in YMC vs Storm.
Yeah, I mean, Timbersaw's an incredibly strong pick in the metagame at the moment, though. I mean, I think one reason why the Timbersaw just had so much fun last game was because Storm just didn't draft that many kind of stuns, disables, nuking damage, and Hans Reborn instantly taking out the Venomancer as well as the Nature's Prophet. So Nature's Prophet, I wouldn't say he's great against the Timbersaw, but once he gets up with maybe an Orchid or a Hex, he can shut the Timbersaw down quite effectively, and Venomancer is, I would say, very good against the Timbersaw. If he can get his ultimate as well as the Venomous Gale, and maybe just a couple of hits with the Plague Ward, he should be able to just take away all the health from the Timbersaw. And even if he does Timber Chain away, he's going to be moving at, minimum move speed, so he's not going to be going very far, especially in the early levels when you really want to be able to get the Timbersaw out of lane and out-leveled.
Yeah, that 17-second slow is absolutely insane. And Hans are actually a team that loves to play that Venomancer in the mid lane. Shaitan is a crazy man. He loves just maxing up that Poison Sting as well as the wards, getting just the 1 point into Gale and going to town. So we might see him going that aggressive Venomancer mid. Rest wisely banning out the Pugna, which we thought would have been a top pick last game against, with all of the nuke damage that the other team was able to throw out. And certainly against the Timbersaw and Visage, that ward would definitely wreck face. So Hans picking up now the support Alchemist. So if it is a support Venomancer, they have a great way to initiate in those lanes. The slow, letting the Alchemist get the Unstable Concoction into range and throwing out that Acid Spray as well. It's a lot of damage over time and it's a lot of burst. So Hans have the great making of a tri-lane if they choose to take it that way.
Yeah, and it is a little bit interesting that they pick up the Storm Spirit this early into the draft. Storm Spirit normally as a hero pick is taken somewhere near the end, so the enemy team won't have, all the time in the world to kind of counter him. I mean, at the moment there's not that many heroes left in the... I mean, of course there's a lot of heroes left in the pool that can kind of shut him down, but I would say the big ones, such as the Outlaw Devourer, is gone, but I was going to say Puck is still in the pool, and Puck really gives Storm Spirit a hard time, especially if he does get a couple of levels on that silence. You just need a rotation, say, from the Alchemist, who I think is going to be a support this game, or even the Venomancer, and that Storm Spirit silence for, 1.5 seconds, 2.25 seconds, he's not really going to go anywhere, and he will probably be falling down from that, so... I don't know if I agree with picking up Storm Spirit this early, but maybe they just have such an amazing Storm Spirit player that they just had to grab it now, so, there was no risk of Hans Reborn picking it up themselves.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rest is using two stand-ins. Mr. Black and Oranges usually isn't on the team, so they don't have their normal mid laner Miguel's, who is an absolute demon in that mid lane. So it'll be interesting to see how they play the Storm Spirit. As you were saying, against the Puck, he can be in a lot of trouble, especially after Puck gets up that Blink Dagger, silences off the Storm Spirit in a big fight, which also really hurts Timbersaw as well. But on the other side of that, if Puck even slightly misengages, he is going to absolutely explode to the damage of Timbersaw and Storm Spirit with a Visage. As you were saying with the weakness of picking up the Storm this early, they already have a great Scythe carrier in the Nature's Prophet. Puck has the silence, he can also go for a Hex as well, so I am a bit interested to see why they picked it up so early. Maybe, the Nax is already banned out as well, so they weren't looking for an Infest Bomb partner, so we'll just have to see how they decide to play him. Of course, you can get extremely aggressive with that Storm Spirit. That slow from Venomancer doesn't matter too much when you can just zip everywhere you need to go. As well as Timbersaw, while the Timber Chain's online, you can still run around a little bit, so we won't see the Venomancer with a massive impact with the Gale, but it is still just such a strong early game spell.
Well, what is really important for the Storm Spirit is the first, I would say, 5 minutes, because he wants to hit level 6 as fast as possible. And if you do have a roaming Venomancer and Alchemist, that Storm Spirit is probably going to have a really hard time I mean, in his lane, especially when you've already got a Visage for rest, rest, rest. I mean, Visage can roam. He's an okay roamer, but I mean, he's not really comparable, I'd say, to Venomancer and Alchemist, who just need to, walk in, throw out a long-range Gale, follow up with a stun, and that hero is essentially on like 100 health at that point. Whereas Visage, he kind of needs slower ganks, or I guess more nuking damage. And when you have a Nyx Assassin already, I mean, Nyx Assassin, he's good again. But, I mean, they're kind of a better tri-lane heroes. I mean, Nyx Visage and Nyx Assassin, I would say, were much better tri-lane heroes than roaming heroes, I suppose, because they both need levels. So I think the Storm Spirit might be having a bit of pressure from the two supports from Hans Reborn. Just, I think, a 4-minute mark before he hits level 6, they're probably going to roam in and just try and take him down as fast as they can.
Yeah, definitely, and kind of furthering on the point about not being the best roamers because they need levels, even if they do decide to roam, the puck is going to be really hard for them to take down in the mid lane. The Visage Soul Assumption and the Nyx Assassin stun are quite easy to dodge with a phase shift, so unless you're able to bait that out early on into a fight, it's going to be really hard to take down Shaitan on that puck. And Luna being the final pickup for Hans Reborn, the damage aura is going to be a giant pain if they choose to go into a split push mode and have Luna and Nature's Prophet in the same area. And again, Luna with that kind of extra little bit of range, I don't know, she's going to do alright in the lane, but I think Timbersaw and Storm Spirit, if they get a good enough role in this early game, the Luna could be in a bit of trouble. So I guess it all comes down to how well both teams lane at the moment. And Rest are still looking to kind of pick up a harder carry. They could just be going with the Timbersaw and Storm Spirit, with the Timbersaw and the offlane Storm mid. It's like,
reserve time.
I don't know, who do you think they'll pick up for the third player in their tri-lane, if they are even tri-laning?
Honestly, I think at this point they could pick up something like an anti-mage and just go for full split pushing aggressive. I mean, they've got a pretty good 4 Protect 1 lineup. I mean, they're a lot more teamfight oriented. They want to get pick-offs. Storm Spirit, Nyx Assassin, Timbersaw, they all want to just find someone out of position and take them down. I think this Nature's Prophet is going to have a lot of difficulty if they can get the levels they need on rest, rest, rest. And if they don't,
10 seconds to go.
I don't think they really have the capability to take team fights against a Puck and a Venomancer. They don't have that huge team fight hero that's going to say, "Hello, everyone. I'm going to destroy you." And a Gyrocopter, I mean, I don't know. I feel like something to go kind of dodge team fights and just get pick-offs would have gone a bit better, but Gyrocopter does give him a little bit more team fight ability, but he's essentially forced into picking up a fast BKB and getting some damage items, because once Luna gets a BKB, they have no physical damage really. She's just going to be able to run free. So Gyrocopter needs a BKB to survive the damage coming out from Hans Reborn, as well as damage items to take down this Luna. So if Rest can get the levels and farm, they should be good, but Hans Reborn I feel like have got a little bit more of a rounded lineup, at least in the early game.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time of the Visage and Nyx Assassin will be spent protecting that Gyrocopter in the early game, which is going to let Hans really exploit the jungle on Nature's Prophet after he kind of messes with that safe lane a little bit. And it gives kind of the ability for the Venomancer and the Alchemist to roam around decently freely, as well as just maybe, take down some camps in the jungle themselves. So I think Hans could play this quite greedy and just kind of try to go toe-to-toe with the carry coming out from Rest. So, speaking of the teams, let's introduce them. On the side of Rest, we have Tondas, the captain, playing up on that Nyx Assassin. Storm Spirit being played by Explosive Fury. The Evil Twig will be taking up the Visage. Gyrocopter being played by Mr. Black. And Oranges on the Timbersaw.
On the side of Hans Reborn, we have got Endless Winter on that Nature's Prophet. Looks like he's going into the offlane. Though he's picked up interesting items for an offlane, maybe he feels like he's just going to rotate to the jungle fairly quickly. Firestarter is going to be on the Alchemist. Balls is going to be playing the Luna, and what a pretty Luna he is. Look at that set. Shaitan is going to be on that Puck, and he has been pulled, so he's expecting a slightly hard lane. And Venomancer is going to be played by Chico.
I think Venomancer is Lippy, and Firestarter, who is... the Alchemist is Risk, so they are just at the moment scouting out the jungle. They don't want any kind of wards to go down to spot out Endless if he's going to be coming down here with those Treants, who can just be so annoying, blocking off pulls, pulling waves, just being ultra annoying, and 2 wards going down at almost exactly the same time for both teams. Luckily for Evil Twig, spotting out the entire team, but Hans are going back because they do need to get off those blocks, and in fact this mid lane block might be coming out a little too late for the side of Hans.
Yeah, I think Shaitan might be losing the the battle unless Explosive Fury does make a big mistake. But I don't think it should be too crucially important. I mean, the Nyx Assassin is kind of hanging around this. That's cute. Yeah, I mean, Shatan's still got a decent block off, and in fact, the lane will be hitting pretty close to the middle. And I mean, on the whole, I feel like the Pluck should have a pretty good time against this Storm Spirit in mid lane, especially because Storm Spirit wasn't pulled. I mean, he was pulled Tagos, but he doesn't have any kind of intelligence item. So looking at the damage, Puck severely outdamages this Storm Spirit, and already Chico's just kind of hanging around in the mid lane, or Lippy, I suppose, wanting to get a bit of harassment onto Explosive Fury and force him back. And that's exactly what Hans Reborn need to and want to do, is just ensure that Storm Spirit has a really hard time in this lane.
And Tondas is just sitting it up, being the mobile ward at the moment, so no harassment damage will be able to be done by that Venomancer. He's going to wrap around at the moment. Didn't place the ward up on the high ground there, so he won't actually know that Nyx Assassin was standing there. And I'm thinking that Nyx just wants to come down here with a mana burn and just annoy Shatan a little bit early on. It can be so annoying. In fact, it looks like Chico's going to be sitting here and going for the Courier Snipe, but Explosive Fury should know that he was down here, and in fact they're wrapping around behind the tower. Shatan taking a lot of damage. The orb is going to go wide. Shatan really needs to get out of this. Chico trying to kind of ward him off the area, but Explosive Fury now coming down. Shatan salving up in the trees. He's trying to come out now. Tondas is going to stop it with a mana burn, but it looks like Shatan is just going to be able to back off scot-free.
Yeah, that was a really nice attempt at a kill on Explosive Fury there, but unfortunately the tower just said, Shatan, you're going too far, man, back out. And I mean, even if they hadn't got the kill, they could have got the Courier, because the Courier was heading up. But look at the Courier now. They're saying, we don't want that Venomancer to scout it out. We're going to take it all around in the jungle. But yeah, that was a little bit of a bad luck there for Hans Reborn, I suppose. That could have been, a kill and a Courier, but unfortunately they got neither.
Yeah, so it just doesn't quite work out for them, but at the same time, they didn't lose anyone. Shatan did manage to get out of there just fine. Yeah. And they just kind of reset in the mid lane, where Shatan's doing really well, sitting at 8-4 for Explosive Fury's 3-0, so definitely win there. Meanwhile, on bottom lane, Endless getting dived quite heavily with the big double creep wave of Rest, but he's managed to pull it back all the way to his creep wave, so they won't be able to get too much damage onto this tier 1. And in mid, Shatan's been roamed on, is trying to get out of here. Tonda's coming through with the haste rune, the right clicks, picking up that first blood in mid lane.
Guess what's happening to Dire?
Yeah, that was a really good rotation coming out from Tondas. Taking out Shatan in the early game is actually really, really important, because now Shatan, I mean, he's still level 3, whereas Explosive Fury is at level 4, and when you do take that puck in the mid lane, I mean, against the Storm Spirit, one thing you really want to do is shut down that Storm, and I think Chico now is going to be well aware that he probably has to sit in this mid lane and just babysit, and I do think that Tonda should maybe spend a little bit more time stacking the Ancients here, since he's been sitting in the mid lane for 3 minutes and he hasn't done a single stack of the Ancients. That could be something that's going to be able to snowball forward the Gyrocopter, because Gyrocopter is one of those carries that can farm the Ancients quite effectively. So if Tondas does spend a little bit more time just pulling the Ancients and getting a stack up, that could mean that, when Gyrocopter hits level 7 or so, his farm could just go from, almost a BKB to a full BKB farmed up just from the Ancient stack.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you see the kind of best teams do, is really make the, sort of use the complete efficiency that the map can offer you there. For now, Tondas is actually going to rotate top though. It's going to get spotted out by the creeps on the high ground, I think. Let's take a look there. Just out of range because of those trees. But Orange is still playing quite aggressive in this top lane. He's managed to get up to level 3.5. Endless has rotated into the jungle, now sitting just at level 4.5, going for that really early Midas. And this is generally what we see from. We're going to see a stun miss from Tondas. Having that change to a targeted ability to ground cast really messes up some players. So it's a bit of a... It was seen as kind of a small nerf to Nyx, but it's really played its part into kind of forcing him out of the meta recently.
Honestly, I think it was the perfect nerf that Ice Frog could have done. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Ice Frog balancing at the best of times, but he really nailed that nerf there. And actually, man, Ball's getting very, very aggressive on Orange. Orange is just throwing out the Whirling Death, and Ball's immediately just falls back on half health. And it's worth noting, Balls has actually picked up Phase Boots. Usually on the Luna, you do see a pickup of Treads for the extra attack speed, but she's gone for the super speedy and super damaging Luna, so I'm curious to see, is she going to go for maybe a Drums or give Aquila early game fighting build, or is she going to go for something like a Midas and then rotate into a bit more of a farming build? Or, I mean, what's her plan exactly? There's nothing wrong with Phase Boots, but it does imply that they do want to play a little bit away from the normal playstyle. Actually, on bot lane, Chico getting initiated on.
Meanwhile as well, Shaitan getting initiated on mid. There's going to be a TP. Chico is going to get out of there fine, and so will Shaitan. Engagements going on all across the map. Shaitan kind of was quite aggressive in that mid lane, but unable, doesn't really have the damage to take down Explosive Fury just yet, and he's about to hit level 6, so Shaitan will be a little bit sad, just missing out on the timing there to grab a solo kill on the Storm Spirit. And Venomancer's doing quite well in this bottom lane. He's getting up some solo levels. He does get Grave Chilled now, but Gyrocopter not willing to dive under the tower for that. And that Poison Stink damage, so annoying on those wards. Even though it's only 2 ticks a second, it's very annoying. But as for Balls on the Luna, he loves to play his heroes extremely aggressively. We've seen him go things like Mask of Madness first on a Phantom Assassin, so it's honestly always up in the air. The full duration stun's going to be channeled out onto Oranges in the top lane. The Lucent Beam grabbing up the kill, so we're going to see more money fueled into the aggression of Balls. And on the bottom, Shaitan spotted out Evil Twig next to this rune. One more right click should do it. No uphill miss. No, it was uphill miss plus the salve. Now Endless coming in, but Explosive Fury TP straight onto it. The Soul Assumption and the stun. Nice two-man stun coming out from Tondas. Now they're going on to Shaitan. Right clicks coming through. Phase shifts 1. The overcharge will slow him down for a moment. Tondas with no more mana. Oranges has come into this fight. He's trying to catch up with the Timber Chain, but it's only level 2 right now, so Shaitan will be able to scurry back.
Well, that was still a nice engagement there for Rest at the moment, 2-1. And given the aggressive early game lineup that Hans has got, I can imagine they're going to start throwing the aggression back onto Rest as soon as they hit level 6 on all their cores, which they should be hitting quite soon. Venomancer's almost there. Parker's just hit level 6. I think that they might go for a bit of a team fight and a gank quite soon. But I mean, regardless, Rest probably couldn't have asked for a better early game. Storm Spirit, I mean, he's 0-0-2. He's got his bottle. He's got... No, he hasn't got treads up yet, but he should have them up fairly soon. And that does mean that he's going to be good to maybe get some fights actually on bot lane.
Mr. Black getting initiated on the Puck, ultimate coming through, all hitting as well. The right click coming through from Risk gets that kill, and a nice kill pickup there. And also the Timbersaw going down in the top lane. Balls using the ultimate and just throwing out too much damage. So a nice 2-kill pickup from Hans Reborn. They're now leading 3-2. We look at the experience, it's around 2,000 in their favor, and the gold is at about 1.7. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Firestarter gets stunned out. The Soul Assumption coming through, just not enough damage. He's living on 20 health right now. Tondas just missing out on that one right click, turning around before it was all done. But the Mana Burn picking up the kill. Tondas now on a killing spree. No last hits, but 3 hero kills.
Man, poor Risk. He really wanted to hit level 6. He's 577 experience out of 600. One more creep, and he would have hit level 6, and he would have survived from that gank on full health, as an Alchemist does tend to do. But, I mean, unfortunately, he just couldn't stick in the lane long enough, and it looks like he's maybe going for a Midas Rush. He's picked up the Gloves of Haste only, and that usually implies, hey, I'm farming a Midas. So maybe Hans Reborn are going for a little bit more Midas gaming. Luna's got enough to buy a Midas now if she does want to, so I'm interested to see if she does decide to pick one up. Yeah, Nature's Prophet. Midas is absolutely core on him. A lot of people, you know, have argued with me about this, but I think even if you can get a Midas up at, you know, the 20-minute mark, it's worth it on a Nature's Prophet. He's an experience dependent hero, and that Midas is going to be absolutely crucial no matter the time of the game, assuming it's, you know, less than 30 minutes. Though, of course, we have seen people get Midases at like 40 minutes in competitive matches, when they're feeling a little bit risky.
And definitely, I think, kind of the drawback of a Midas is that it kind of delays your team fighting ability, but for a Nature's Prophet, that isn't really a problem. I mean, if all is going completely according to plan during that mid-game, you're going to be hoping that your team is 4v5ing, distracting the enemies while you're taking down towers on the other side of the map. And you don't need tank to take down towers. You need attack damage, you need attack speed, and Midas gives you one of those, as well as a great way to enhance your golden experience gain. So I think, as you were saying, for Nature's Prophet, just definitely such a great item. With all of the towers, well, not all of the towers, but with the tower secured at top by Balls, it does increase the rate at which they can obtain the Midases if they wish to go for them. But Balls is going straight into a BKB, so already has the Ogre Club and Mithril Hammer purchased up at this 9.5 minute mark, and not even going for the drums, just going straight into that BKB. So it looks like Hans want to fight and fight early.
Yeah, and that is kind of expected. I don't know what the crew is doing in the mid lane, just kind of suiciding it now. That BKB will be helpful with team fighting. Of course, Luna will be able to run in, but the big problem with picking a BKB up at, you know, the 13-minute mark, for example, is that she's going to wear down charges very, very quickly. And I mean, by 30 minutes into the game, it's probably going to be a 4-second BKB or thereabouts, and that's a little bit, well, I guess, worrying, because you want to have a longer duration BKB when the spells are a bit stronger in the late game. So this does kind of imply also, with this just complete rush of the BKB, that Hans Reborn want to finish the game by around about the 30-minute mark. They want to be able to get down all the outer towers and, Roshan, and they just push the high ground. And with the healers they have, they could potentially do that. But again, they've got similar problem to what we saw last game, where they've got a huge team fight when all their ultimates are up, but when the ultimates aren't up, they've got decent durability, but it's not, the amazing team fight that, is going to win them the game. So, the earlier into the game they push, the shorter the respawn cooldown is. So it's kind of like they could win a huge team fight and everyone's going to respawn in 10 seconds and come back into the team fight again, and they're going to have their ultimates up. So I don't know if getting a BKB up is great early in the game, but at the same time, you have to consider cooldown as well as, winning team fights purely based on magical damage.
Yeah, it definitely has its drawbacks. Tondas is going to reveal himself from the invis. Isn't level 6 yet, so can't Vendetta. The Visage Familiar is looking for maybe a stun there, but at the moment, Hans are just happy to kind of slow siege this tower. In fact, Shaitan going to come in from the backline, already picking up 1 kill. Mr. Black is going to fall down to the Nature's Prophet ultimate. Shaitan now trying to run for his life. Orange is getting very aggressive. Meanwhile, Tondas under the tower will go down to the poison tick damage. Shaitan dodges the Chakram and orbs up. Will escape for now. Orange is diving here, but he needs to be careful because the rest of Hans are by that tower. And not only has Shaitan avoided that kill, but he's drawn the entire creep wave off, just ensuring that T1 tower. So Hans picking up 3 kills and a T1 tower just then.
That was a really, really nice team fight for them. Exactly what they needed. And I mean, Ball's got very, very close to dying, but he didn't die. He's now got his BKB up. Risk has picked up that Midas, so his farm as well as levels is going to accelerate. And Medallion has actually picked up on Chico, so maybe they want to go for a Roshan fairly soon. And with the Nature's Prophet, they should be able to do that quite easily. They might want to wait, another minute or two until their ultimates are all back up, but once they've got that Eclipse, taking the Roshan should be a nice, quick, easy little endeavor for them. And once they've got that, they can really start pushing down these tier 2 towers quite aggressively.
Yeah, definitely. At the moment, they have the maxed trees on Nature's Prophet, the max acid spray on Alchemist, and the max wards on the Venomancer, as well as the Medallion. So they definitely have all of the tools that they need to take this Roshan. And we have seen teams taking it, so early on. You see all these coordinated teams taking it at the 7, the 10-minute mark, when most teams are just kind of thinking, oh, we need to be rotating and ganking. And Chico's already started setting up that Roshan, has 4 Plague Wards down. Firestarter just lacking the mana to get acid spray down, but we'll have it in just a moment. Nature's Prophet now TPing in as well, and Rest don't have vision of this pit, so Han should be able to take down this Roshan very quickly, already dropping down to around half health. That Luna attack damage aura doing quite well as well. Roshan already down at 1.5k HP, and that Aegis has been secured on board.
Roche won't be stomping around no more thanks to the Dire.
Yeah, and that is going to be really, really nice for that Luna, since she's quite squishy, especially with the phase boots, only less than 1k health, and they want to be, going in quite aggressively, but that does mean that, she's got a double life. She can just kind of charge in, pop the Eclipse, pop the BKB, die, and then, be on cleanup duty just using those glaives, which are now level 3. In addition to that, I mean, they've got the Nature's Prophet who can always come in, and his Shadow Blade is done, so he's going to be able to just keep the pressure on, keep split pushing, and Shaitan also got the Blink Dagger up, so all the core items that Hans Reborn need to really fight are there right here, right now. The only thing they're probably lacking is the mech, but I can't imagine maybe Firestarter's going to be farming that up in the not too distant future.
I think that's kind of early Midas on the Alchemist, who is being played as a support this game, is a great kind of addition to your late game. You get those... Well, you get the support items you need. As you were saying, you get the mech. He won't be going for a medallion this game, as Venomancer already has one. I mean, you could always go to medallions. It's never going to be a horrible idea. But he can go more into kind of even semi-carry items. He's going to be picking up the mana boots, actually, so a bit worried about his mana pool. Of course, Venomancer always has some issues as well, because his spells are quite high cost for, he can throw out the ultimate and a gale and maybe a few wards, and that's his entire mana pool. So he does have the Urn in the Medallion, now also the mana boots on Alchemist, so that should definitely help the kind of extended pushes that Hans have been just sieging these towers.
Well, for a utility Alchemist, that is definitely not a bad item choice, and I mean, you can see he usually does have quite bad mana problems. Even with the Chemical Rage, if you are going to be spamming out the acid spray as well as the stun, it's quite mana intensive. And it's going to help out his whole team, and this might be, you know, implying that Firestarter will be picking up the mech, because with the mech as well, that is another really mana-intensive item/skill, so...
Alright, now we're going to have Explosive Fury coming in, gets silenced instantly, the cooldown coming out, Balls, the Aegis dropped already, Chico dropping low but uses the wand and Urn to come back up, Tondas needs to run, doesn't have Spike Carapace, the stun kills him off, meanwhile Balls grabbing a kill on the back end, Timbersaw also taking down Nature's Prophet, it's a 4-for-1 trade so far, they're looking to go in on Oranges, the blink forward from Chitan as well as the ultimate, he's starting to get back up slightly but Chico grabbing that double kill, Hans Reborn, a complete team wipe plus a tier 1 tower, all for the cost of the Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, that was a really good exchange for them, but again, they have to watch out because now they haven't got the Aegis and everyone in rest is respawning in the next, 10 seconds or so, bar the Timbersaw. And I mean, that's what I was saying about the early game, is that you get heroes down, but they're back in a matter of seconds. But of course, it looks like they will be able to get this tower down. Balls has got the BKB, he didn't cast it last fight, so he should be able to make it out scot-free. They don't get the denier, so it is a really nice little tower pick off there, and they are gaining all the map control they need, and now they are looking like they want to rotate to the top lane and maybe push that tower down. Nope, looks like they're just going to kind of go farm the Ancients and deny even more farm. But Chitana better watch out.
Yeah, Chitana is going to get caught out here. Goes down to the burst damage there. Mr. Black throwing out those rockets, which are maxed Explosive Fury. Getting the last shot there, and Chitan just getting caught out there. And a nice ward on the high ground here.
Look at the courier for Hans Reborn.
So cheeky.
He is. Cheeky item choice. Well, I guess we can see what kind of loon he's going for now.
I told you Balls would do it. Who needs, I don't need treads to tank up. I've got a BKB. You know what I should do? Get a Mask of Madness. That'll help with the survivability. Nothing can go wrong.
It's not like I just died instantly last team fight and only came back because of the Aegis,
Maybe his thinking is, I'm going to die instantly, I may as well make it slightly more instant. Get out a bit more damage before I die.
We'll have to see how it works out, I guess. He's still got the 10-second BKB, so... I mean, maybe he'll go for a Blink Dagger next. I did actually see that in another competitive game, where Luna went for a Phase Boots, Mask of Madness, Blink, into 2 Divine Rapiers. I think that was Kansei Whips though. Slick's playing it. But anyway, we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely Aussie Dota style. Ball's going to drop the BKB, throwing out the ultimate as well. Creep's absorbing quite a bit of it, but not enough of it. He goes down there. The ward catches out Evil Twig, but no Lucent Beam cast. It was in the animation. So we will get a TP out there from Evil Twig, but Hans looking to pressure this tier 2 tower in the top lane, which is already down to about 2/3 health.
Yeah, I mean, now is the chance to go without Oranges up. Chakram is pretty much the biggest defense I would say Rest have got at the moment. The rest of the heroes are kind of single target, or they need to be in the middle of the team fight, whereas with the Chakram you can just throw it out and defend that tower from afar, but without Oranges, looks like this tier 2 tower is going to be going down. They've only got the bottom one left.
Comes in from Explosive Fury, goes on Balls, he knows the BKB is down. Balls dropping early in this team fight, the ultimates coming out from Chico as well as Black. Firestarter taking a drop as well. It looks like Hans Reborn have overstayed their welcome, but in the same time, the Venomancer ultimate doing so much. It's now 4 down here. Chitan coming through with the ultimate. Oranges get stunned out, but those Visage Familiars doing quite a bit of damage, as well as Oranges coming through with those Timber Chains. He needs at least 2 more to take down Chitan, who's now bottling up. Has the orb available, will be able to phase shift it. In fact, he's going for a kill here, but Oranges just turns around and says, no way. It's a 4-for-4 trade, but during this, Endless Winter pushes down that bottom tier 2 tower, and now he's gone to top lane. He's going to pick up Oranges as well. Chitan also, interestingly, buying back the end of that fight. Some great play there by Endless Winter, but I'm kind of unsure as to why Chitan bought back there. He's now just kind of right-clicking down mid lane. He's gone really deep in here. What is Chitan doing?
Radiant's mid tower standing back up.
I'm
Chitan Dota.
What is going on? Chitan just A-clicking down the mid, orbing and doing what he can. Luna with the Mask of Madness as well. Hans, what are you trying to do here? You're breaking my heart.
They want to make it a harder game than it already was.
Endless now has level 2 Necro. It's sitting in his stash at the moment. Looks like he's going to wait for the full level 3 before pulling it out. And, sending it out to himself. Pico will spot out a regen rune, which I assume Endless will be TPing to and picking up, so he'll be back up at that full health, and he has enough gold for the Necro 3 now if he wants to grab it. So that's it's not only a lot of tower pushing for the Nature's Prophet, it's a lot of damage in a team fight, as well as having that True Sight. It can be very useful for spotting out a Nyx Assassin if he tries to defensively use that Vendetta.
Yeah, it really is a good item, and it does mean they will be able to take the high ground with relative ease, I would say. I mean, Roshan should be up in the next couple of minutes, so they could just wait for that. But it looks like they definitely want to get this last tier 2 tower down, which should be quite easy to do, especially because nobody in Rest is in position to defend it. Storm Spirit's back at base, the other four are just roaming around the rune jungle. So last tier 2 tower is going to be going down now, and Hans, are they going to try and push the high ground? Looks like they're considering it. They have got the Necro Book 3 taken to Endless now, and I suppose they could do it, but without the Aegis up, it might be a bit of a risky choice, especially because they did just throw a couple of team fights just then.
You can see the tower just absolutely melting at the moment the glyph gets popped, and I think they'll be happy to kind of slow siege it from now with the Necro units. Oh, in fact, we're going to see an ultimate from Shaitan coming out there on nothing, maybe hoping to catch someone on the high ground, but they should have had vision there. The tier 3 goes down, and they're just trying to get out of here. Explosive Fury throws out the ultimate, but gets taken down instantly, and there we see Gyrocopter taking a fall. Was that a Dagon somewhere? I don't know. Firestarter now coming in here, being very aggressive, maybe going for oranges, looking at Tondas as well, and the good game actually getting called by Rest 20 minutes into this game, and I can't really blame them. The experience at the moment is at 13k, the gold at 22,000 ahead at 21 minutes, and Hans just showing us why they're seen as the best team in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, GG well played to both teams, but Hans Reborn, despite attempting to throw it, they unfortunately couldn't quite get there and still won the game, 21 minutes, but yeah, GG well played. Thanks for watching, guys. Very well played,
of course. Thank you very much to Lily for joining me tonight, and of course, thank you to Esports Daily for hosting this tournament, and of course, our lovely stats man, Bradley, Captain Kirk. So, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. I've been the Spectre. Joining me was Lily. And we will be back with more games tomorrow evening, starting at 7 PM Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and another game at 8. So thank you very much for tuning in.